Halloween is supposed to be the one night a year where being scared is fun, where the darkness feels safe because everyone's out in it together. Costumes, candy, porch lights, it all creates this bubble that makes you feel like nothing real can touch you. But sometimes something real does. These are 3 true stories from people who went out on Halloween night and came back different. I was 15 the Halloween this happened. My mom had stopped taking me trick-or-treating 2 years before that. My neighbor, Mrs. Adler, asked if I'd walk her twin boys around the block while she stayed home to hand out candy. She offered me $20. I dressed as a generic vampire. Black cape, plastic fangs, white face paint. The twins were dressed as dinosaurs, these big inflatable green suits that made them waddle when they walked. They were 7. Their names were Cooper and Bryce. And they were the most excited human beings I had ever seen in my life. We hit our street first, then looped around to the next block over, Ridgeway Court. It was about 7:45 p.m. Still plenty of families out. Ridgeway Court was a cul-de-sac, a dead-end loop with maybe 12 houses arranged in a half circle. Most of them were decorated, fake gravestones in the yards, orange string lights. One house had a fog machine going that pushed low, white mist across the driveway. But the house at the very end of the cul-de-sac, the one sitting directly at the top of the loop, had no decoration, no porch light. The windows were dark. It just sat there between 2 brightly lit houses like a gap in a row of teeth. I noticed it but didn't think much of it. Plenty of people don't participate. We skipped it and started on the left side of the loop. We were 3 houses in when I noticed the man. He was standing in the yard of the dark house, not on the porch. In the yard, off to the side, near a leafless tree at the edge of the property. He was wearing dark clothing, dark pants, dark jacket, and he was completely still. I told myself he was a decoration, one of those standing scarecrow props people put out. But then Cooper pointed at him and said, "That man is staring at us." I looked again. He was facing our direction, and even from across the street, even in the low Halloween light, I could see that his head had moved, just slightly, tracking us as we walked. Decorations don't track. I kept the twins moving, focused on the house in front of us, rang the doorbell, watched them get their candy, kept smiling. But every few seconds, I glanced back across the street. He was still there, still watching. We moved to the next house, then the next. The twins were oblivious, arguing about who had more Snickers.
Then I noticed he had moved.
He had moved.
He was no longer by the tree. He was standing at the edge of his property, right at the boundary where his dead yard
met the sidewalk. He hadn't walked across the street. He was just closer, and he was still watching us. I picked up our pace, told the boys we needed to hit the houses on the other side of the loop. Bryce complained. I told him I'd give him my Reese's cups. He stopped complaining. We crossed to the right side of the cul-de-sac. As we did, I made the mistake of looking directly at the man. He raised one hand, slowly, like a wave, but not a friendly wave. Slow, deliberate, like he wanted to make sure I saw it. I didn't wave back. I grabbed both twins by the hand and told them we were going home. Cooper said, "We didn't finish." I said, "I know, come on." The only way out of the cul-de-sac was back the way we came, which meant walking past the dark house, past him. I walked fast, kept the boys between me and the road, kept my eyes forward. As we passed, he was still standing at the edge of his property. I heard him say something, low and quiet, not loud enough for the twins to hear. He said, "Nice boys." I didn't stop. I didn't respond. I walked until we were off Ridgeway Court and back on the main street, and I didn't slow down until I could see Mrs. Adler's porch light. I looked back once, from the top of the main street, where you could still just see the entrance to the cul-de-sac. He had followed us to the end of the street. He was standing at the corner, watching us go. I grabbed the twins and ran. Mrs. Adler opened the door before I even knocked. She'd seen us coming up the path. She asked why we were back so early. I told her the boys were tired. She looked at my face and asked if everything was okay. I said yes. I don't know why I said yes. I went home, locked my door, and sat on my bed, still in my vampire costume. My hands wouldn't stop shaking for about an hour. 4 days later, my mom mentioned something over dinner. She'd seen a post in the neighborhood Facebook group. Someone on Ridgeway Court had reported a man in dark clothing lingering near the cul-de-sac on Halloween night, watching children. 2 other families had reported the same man. One mother said he had approached her daughter and asked if she lived nearby. Police had looked into it. The dark house at the end of the loop had been vacant for 3 months. No one matching the man's description lived there or had permission to be on the property. They never identified him. That was 6 years ago. I don't walk through cul-de-sacs at night anymore. Dead ends make me feel sick in a way I can't explain. Sometimes when I'm somewhere unfamiliar and I realize the road only goes one way, I get this cold feeling at the back of my neck, like someone just raised their hand to wave. I was 16 and I'd been trick-or-treating, ironically for 2 years, meaning I knew I was too old, but I still went anyway because my best friend Jade refused to stop. Her reasoning was that free candy had no age limit, and she dared anyone to argue with her about it. This year she was a witch. I was a zombie. Ripped clothes, grey face paint, fake blood on my neck. We started at around 7 p.m., hit our usual streets, and were heading back toward Jade's house around 8:30 when she wanted to cut through Pembrook Street, a road we didn't usually do because it was longer. It was a good Halloween night. Warm enough for just a jacket. Lots of kids out. We were in a good mood. The Pembrook Street was lined with big oak trees that had already lost most of their leaves by late October. The street lights were spaced far apart, which left long stretches of the sidewalk in shadow between pools of orange light. Most houses were decorated, but the scale was bigger here. Full animated displays, projectors throwing ghosts onto garage doors. One house with a soundtrack of screaming playing from outdoor speakers. The effect was genuinely impressive. It felt more like a Halloween attraction than a regular neighborhood. There was a figure sitting in a chair on a porch about halfway down the street, and it was dressed in a black cloak and had a white mask, the classic featureless oval kind, set up like a prop, meant to look like a Halloween display. Jade pointed at it and said, "Good one," and we kept walking. I looked back when we were about 2 houses past it. The chair was empty. I grabbed Jade's arm. She turned and looked. We both stood there for a second. Empty porch. Empty chair. No one around it. I told myself it was a person who had decided to go inside. Completely reasonable. People do that. But something about the speed bothered me. We had walked maybe 15 seconds past that porch. We kept walking. I was watching the shadows between houses more carefully now. Then Jade grabbed my arm. On the other side of the street, about 30 feet ahead of us, the cloaked figure was standing next to a mailbox, facing us. It shouldn't have been possible to get there that fast. Not without us seeing it cross the street. We slowed down. I suggested we turn back, but we were closer to Jade's house going forward than going back. Jade said it was probably just someone in a costume messing with people. We walked forward, staying on our side of the street, giving it a wide berth. As we got level with it, the figure turned its head to follow us. That featureless white mask. No eye holes that I could see, just smooth and white and oval. Jade laughed nervously and said, "Okay, creepy." The figure didn't respond, didn't move, just stood there with that blank face pointed directly at us. We passed it. I exhaled. Then I heard footsteps on the road behind us. Not running, not hurrying, just steady, even footsteps matching our pace. I looked back. The figure was walking behind us. Same distance, same pace. Keeping exactly 15 feet of space between us. Jade heard them too. She looked at me. Her witch hat was slightly crooked, and she looked genuinely scared for the first time all night. I said, "Don't run. Just walk faster." We walked faster. The footsteps stayed with us. Same pace, same distance. I looked back again. The mask, the blank white oval, still watching. We turned a corner sharply. Jade Street was 1 block over, and the moment we rounded it, we ran. Flat out, candy bags swinging, all the way to Jade's front door. Jade got her key in the lock, and we tumbled inside, and she slammed the door. We stood in her hallway, breathing hard. Her mom came out of the kitchen and asked what happened. I looked through the narrow window beside the front door. The figure was standing at the end of Jade's driveway, perfectly still, mask pointed at the house. Then Jade's mom went to the window, and when I looked again, it was gone. Jade's mom didn't believe us. She said it was Halloween and someone was pranking us. She made hot chocolate and turned on a movie. Jade and I sat with our backs to the wall facing the front window for most of the night. About 2 weeks later, Jade sent me a link to a Reddit thread in a local community forum. Someone had posted asking if anyone else had encountered a person in a white mask and black cloak on Pembrook Street on Halloween. By the time Jade found it, there were 11 replies. 5 different families had seen the same figure. 3 of them reported being followed for at least half a block. One reply said their Ring doorbell camera had captured the figure standing at their driveway for 6 minutes after they'd gone inside. Just standing, not moving. Another reply said they'd called the non-emergency police line. Officers had done a pass through the neighborhood, but found no one matching the description. The thread was eventually locked. A moderator added a note that said the post was generating harassment toward local residents. I still think about that note sometimes. Who exactly they thought was being harassed? That was 4 years ago. Jade and I still talk about it, though less than we used to. She doesn't go out on Halloween anymore. She says she just doesn't enjoy it the way she did. I understand that. What I can't get rid of is the footsteps, that specific rhythm, slow, even, keeping exact pace. Sometimes, when I'm walking somewhere at night and I hear someone behind me, I count their steps against mine. I don't mean to. I just need to know if they match. I was 17 the last Halloween I went trick-or-treating. I want to be clear that I'm not using the word last the way people do when they mean they outgrew something. I mean it literally. I went out with my younger sister Maya. She was 9. Maya was dressed as Moana. I wasn't in costume. I wore jeans and a hoodie and carried her candy bag because it kept getting too heavy for her. We went out at 6:30, early, while it was still light enough that I felt okay about it. Our neighborhood was safe. We'd grown up there. I knew every block. Our neighborhood ran along a main road with residential streets feeding off it like ribs off a spine. There were dozens of kids out, parents clustered in small groups at the ends of driveways. It was loud in the way Halloween is supposed to be loud. Doorbells, squealing kids, the rustle of plastic bags. The houses were old and close together, and the street lights were the warm yellow kind that made everything look a little like a film from the 1990s. The only thing I noticed that felt even slightly off was that one of the street lights near the end of Carver Road was flickering, on, off, irregular rhythm, like it was about to die. I noted it and forgot it. We were near the end of Carver Road when Maya stopped walking. She pointed at the house on the corner, the last house on the street, old 2-story, the kind with a wide covered porch that wrapped around the side. An old woman was standing on the porch, no costume, no candy bowl, just standing there in a plain gray dress, watching the kids go by. And Maya was a friendly, fearless kid who spoke to strangers all the time without a second thought. She was not moving toward this woman. She was just staring. I asked Maya, "You want to go say hi?" Maya shook her head, said quietly, "She's looking for someone." We were about 4 houses back up Carver Road when Maya stopped again. I almost ran into her. She was standing completely still, facing forward, and she said, "I don't see Lily anymore." She pointed ahead of us on the sidewalk. The girl in the butterfly costume. She was right there. She was right in front of us the whole time, and now she's gone. I told Maya, "Kids move around. Yo, she probably went into a house." Maya said, "She didn't go into a house. She just stopped being there." The flickering street light at the end of the road clicked off and didn't come back on. I looked back toward the corner house out of some instinct I can't explain. The old woman was no longer on her porch. She was standing on the sidewalk at the bottom of the street facing our direction. She had covered maybe 50 feet without me hearing a single footstep. I turned forward, kept walking. At the edge of the street light nearest to us, just at the boundary where the yellow light ended and the dark began, stood a small child in a butterfly costume, facing away from us, not moving. Every other child on the street was moving. Maya whispered, "That's Lily." The child in the butterfly costume slowly turned her head. Not her body, just her head, all the way around to face us. The face was wrong, not in a way I have the vocabulary to describe properly. It was the shape of a child's face, but the expression was completely absent. Like a photograph of a face. Flat, still. The eyes didn't catch the light the way eyes should. I picked Maya up off the ground. She was 9 and almost too big for it, but I didn't care. I turned and walked back the way we'd come. Not toward the old woman, but toward the cross street on the other side, cutting between 2 houses when I had to. I heard Maya say, very quietly, into my shoulder, "She's still watching." I got us to the main road. Bright, cars passing, families everywhere. I put Maya down and looked at her face. She was pale, in a way I'd never seen her. And she said one thing, in a voice that didn't sound like a 9-year-old. She was going to take me to where Lily is. The old lady. She whispered it to me when you weren't looking. She said there are lots of children where Lily is. She said I would like it there. I called my mom from the main road. She left her shift early. We drove home with every light in the car on. 3 weeks later, I went back during daylight. The corner house on Carver Road had a real estate lockbox on the front door. A neighbor, raking leaves, told me the house had been empty for almost a year. She had a daughter, but she passed a long time ago, when she was very young. Halloween, actually. Hit by a car while trick-or-treating. Must have been 40 years ago now. I stood on that sidewalk for a long time after she went back inside. I thought about what Maya had said. She's looking for someone. A 9-year-old girl who had never been told any of this. Every Halloween I turn off our porch light and I don't open the door. But the real reason is simpler. I don't want to see what's walking up the driveway.